For February the 4th, 2022, we talk about Phoenix Point, Old Man's Journey, The Forest, and much more. Welcome to Level 402. My name is Cole Ross.
I'm Dennis Furia.
I'm Jala Brendez.
And I'm Ben Merkel.
And you are listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. Welcome back, Jala.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy
I am Slowpoke. I am a month late, although technically no, because today is Lunar New Year. So
yes.
Happy Year of the Tiger.
Yeah.
As we record this is Tuesday,
and there's no guarantee that people are listening to it this year or this month either. So, I mean, really, to think about it, time is meaningless. No, it's been a while. Time is not meaningless because it's been a minute since you've been on. How's it going?
Well, to be honest, I have been appreciative of the break because last time I was talking about AI, the Somnium files, which I will continue to talk about this time and finish up. But I was playing that and I was playing Shin Megami Tensei 5 and I got burned out of both of those. And then all I was doing was just playing a lot of Elder Scrolls Blades. And I was just very tired from working on the house, working on overtime at work and whatever, a whole bunch of stuff. So I was just very tired. So I was actually fine with the break because then I didn't have to rush and try to find something to talk about for games. So. Yeah. But in the interim, I also finally got to record that Riddick franchise episode of Monster Deer Monster. Ooh. You can find it at monsterdeer.monster. That's the neat domain name they have. It was a very fun episode, so folks can check that out. We do cover the games a little bit as well as the motion comics, the movies, kind of franchise in general kind of stuff. So quite a lot of fun. And that was with Dave, regular host, main host of Monster Deer Monster, as well as John, also known as Tethalus in the community, and Desiree. So
nice.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, I think you just got to start numbering your Daves.
Yeah, you have a lot of Daves.
I know. Yeah. Well, this Dave is the same Dave that I happen to also be dating and I live with. So
right,
okay. Then you're fine.
It's that guy. It's the same Dave.
Not a third Dave.
Well, yeah, you said it. You said it with enough additional context that was not my Dave.
Right.
That I
I don't need to it's weird to claim people. I didn't really want to, go there. I just wanted to say that this man is a podcast person over there that does this show that he does and respect it for that, not with his association with me. Anyway, I can also verify,
guys, he's not just arm candy. All right, stop objectifying Dave. God.
Right? So speaking of that, Answer the Call, the Ghostbusters reboot from 2016 that I finally watched because we're going to be doing some special eps about Ghostbusters also. Again, franchise wide. So we're going to be covering everything Ghostbusters. Anyway, it was a fun movie and it was definitely unfairly maligned in my opinion.
Okay.
It was fun. It was cute. It was heartfelt. My complaints were that there's blatant misogyny and stereotyping of women written into the script with no comeuppance other than, well, they still know what they're doing and they still save the day anyway, despite all of the shit these people were saying. There isn't any snappy comebacks or anything. And then that, and then the black woman Patty, who is the best character, is a Metro employee and really just an add-on rather than having any kind of professional credentials. She's not a doctor or an engineer or a veteran. Winston Zeddemore from the original movies, as I found out from the novelizations, actually has like in his resume, a bunch of military work. He's a black belt. He has other kinds of stuff like that, like high profile stuff. He's not a doctor, but he has, plenty of other capabilities.
He's not just a schmo. He's just a fish out of, he's a viewer surrogate. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they are all schmoes to an extent, but yes.
Yes. But so anyway, so my complaints were just a couple of things about that. But anyway, like 2016 was also kind of even though that doesn't feel like it's super long ago, because time is sometimes meaningless. At the same time, that was quite a while ago, and the vibe at that time was not the same as it is now. Mm-hmm. So,
it's really hard to look at things in the past because it's like for any given year, there's progressive things and there's regressive things, and so it's like it's tough to tell where the median is and like if something was good for its time or not.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, and it's kind of like going back to Ghostbusters, these, super beloved movies, and watching them again, I'm like, ooh,
yeah, there's some homophobia
some of this is
there.
Not great.
Everybody's smoking. Everybody's smoking all the time, and this is kind of
there's just a there's a lot of I don't know. It's not like the whole movie is cringy or anything like that. It's not. It's Ghostbusters. It's not particularly, but there were definitely some things that I looked at and I'm like, oh, fresh eyes on this after not seeing it for many, many years is very different from when I was 5 watching this.
So some of Peter Venkman's behavior romantically, maybe not role model material, let's say.
Yeah. So. Oh, well, anyway.
In a world of just infinite content, and there are always really high quality options for everything, it's always hard not to judge something by the harshest standards of the current day.
Yeah.
Because there are alternatives that live up to those standards. Yeah, it's a delicate line to walk to kind of go back in time for that stuff.
Well, and the thing about Ghostbusters 2 is not Ghostbusters 2, the movie 2, but like Ghostbusters in addition is that it kind of sprang out of the whole National Lampoon thing. Like a lot of the people writing and working on it were from that ilk.
Harold Ramis,
and that stuff really was edgy, intentionally super edgy. So like, even though it was a family comedy movie with some action stuff-ish, it really... like the heart of the people who were working on it were the same people who did Animal House and things like that.
Right,
so it's like, okay, well,
talk about something that's really hard to go back to. Oh my God.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, it's super tame compared to where it came from. But at the same time, like going back and looking at it, it's like, that was definitely of an era, so. Anyway, same thing with the Ghostbusters Answer the Call. You go back and you look at that now. If it had been 2016, I might not have picked up on the stuff that I was picking up on. But looking at it nowadays, I'm like,
okay.
Well, those are some things that I noticed now that I probably I don't know if I can't say that I wouldn't have. I'm not sure if I would have necessarily pointed that out and been like, well, I don't know that I like that part about it. Back then or not.
Yeah.
Who's to say? 2016 was a while ago.
Yeah. Nice.
How the hell is everybody else?
I was perfect then and I'm perfect now. Don't you know?
If you disagree with me, you're being divisive, and I don't think we need any more of that. I mean, since you asked, Jala, I'm doing okay. I got new glasses. I'm excited about that.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm real excited. I've got like a little so have you guys seen those Elgato Stream Decks? Not a Steam Deck, a Stream Deck.
I recognize the Elgato name.
They make streaming software, or like so they make streaming software, but also hardware. So like the Elgato game capture is like a pretty popular capture card for console games and things like that. But they've branched out into all kinds of production kind of equipment. Real nice stuff too. But the Stream Deck, like if you've probably seen it, it's like a little dingus that sits on your desk that has LCD buttons on it. It can be programmed using their computer to show, anything that you want on the buttons, and you can press those buttons to make things happen on a computer. So like over in the office where I stream from, I've got one plugged in, and I use that to change scenes when I'm streaming, to go AFK and stuff like that. And I got one over here for this computer, and I've been having a lot of fun. I automated the markers, guys.
Ooh.
So in the past, this is super geeky, but in the past, whenever I needed to cut anything out, I would have to select the Logic Pro 10 window, right, and press the keyboard command to drop a marker, and then I would have to go back in and listen over each of them, and then label them, and then make the edits and stuff like that. Now I just have 15 buttons in front of me, or 14 buttons rather, and they all have little labels. And for
I was just gonna say,
well, we've got episode begin, episode end, break begin, break end, awkward speech, unfortunate remark, body sound, overtalk, chapter segment, technical problem, background noise, lookup, and retake. And then one for just a blank marker.
It's wonderful.
So anytime anything happens, I use the Stream Deck, and I'm here on a Mac, and I hook that into Keyboard Maestro. It's another automation program. Anytime something happens, instead of just hitting, instead of doing the thing I said before, I just press one of these buttons, and it drops the flag, and it's named when it drops.
That is fantastic.
I like the unfortunate remark tag. Can you give us some examples of those?
No. Sometimes, yes, but then he would go back and edit them all out.
Yeah.
Sometimes you misspeak. Like it doesn't happen an awful lot on this show, but just like the way that I said that probably could come across as offensive. Like I need to go back. It would just be better to rephrase that so I don't sound thoughtless. Right? We have we have the ability to edit, so it just kind of makes sense.
There was also that episode I came down really hard on Betty White right before she passed.
I know.
I forgot about that.
That one aged like milk is what it did. Yeah.
It aged the exact opposite of the way Betty White aged.
I have to tell you about Betty White. I have a very short story.
Oh, do.
So, my elderly dog, Pooh Bear, is very cute, and she's white. And one day I come in, and my dad says, after there was like a Betty White memorial thing on TV, and then he turns to me and says, "We're renaming her. Her name is now Betty White." And I was like, okay, hi, Betty. And then she, Poodle answers to everything.
Okay.
Like, because my mom calls her random objects. My mom will call her Ball. You're a ball. Okay.
Yeah.
So she's a ball now. And she's a pool. She's a cookie. I mean, like, mom just kind of spouts words at the dog and just calls her everything.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, yeah, she'll answer to it, whatever. Hi, Betty. And then my dad was like, no, I thought you were going to get upset. And he was trying to upset me. But then what happened is he got upset because I was rolling with it.
You didn't take the bait.
I was calling Poodle Betty, and she, she was fine with it. My mom was fine with it. Dave was fine with it, but my dad was very upset.
Oh, hey, don't joke if you're not willing to be taken seriously, at least for a moment,
right?
know?
Right.
Yeah.
I felt very, very nice to see that happen. See him get taken aback and clutch his pearls because I called the dog Betty White. Like, hey, you said it. Okay, I'm going with it.
Hey, there's worse things than being named after a beloved public figure. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I think animals respond more to the tone of the voice, right? Like you just so you can just say whatever,
Yeah, we just had an edit point to full transparency. I came down on Betty White for another half hour. I could not hold my tongue.
We are way over schedule, you guys. Speaking, so that
I want to go to sleep sometime, Dennis.
But yeah, that's my big thing is setting that up, and hopefully it will save me some headaches down the line. Dennis, how about you? What's going on?
Yeah, we are in the beautiful, wonderful week where Jen has had her birthday and I have not yet had mine.
Oh,
we're 6 days apart. Yep. Feb 5th is mine. And she's 6 days older than me. And I just luxuriate in that fact for a week. And it gets more fun every year.
I was going to say that's going to be something that's going to change in character over the course of years.
So we're having a fun time with that, and there's lots of family birthday celebrations and cake to go around, etc. right now. But mostly it's just making various age-related jokes towards Jen.
Oh no!
And I derive no small amount of delight from that. So,
well, happy birthday to her, and happy preemptive birthday to you.
I know.
Has she figured out how to counterattack yet, and like give you diapers or something, and be like a little pacifier and stuff?
Shut up, man! Don't ruin it.
Just say, oh, you'll understand when you're older.
Yep. she's a good sport about it. She knows this is like my one thing. You got, I don't know, you just pick a random hill to die on bitwise, and this one's mine.
Yeah, I understand that.
At least your birthday's on a Saturday this year. That's great.
Yeah, we're hitting the lottery because I believe Jen's was on a Sunday, or it was on the weekend. And then, funny enough, her mom's is a week after mine, literally on Valentine's Day. And so we just like bang, 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 have all these celebrations groups together.
Nice.
Funny enough, it is on the Super Bowl as well. So, sorry to my mother-in-law, but she is getting a birthday party / Super Bowl party. There's not really anything she can do about it.
You kind of have to. The Bengals are playing, so
I know.
Yeah,
craziness. If I could say anything intelligent about sports, I would say it now. But yes, that is super fun that they are going to the Super Bowl for the first time in a long, long time.
Yeah, since 33 years ago. That was the last time they went. Yeah,
which is my age and not my wife's now. So,
jeez, wow. Oh man, he's just getting his fun in while he can. Ben, how about you?
I've been good. As I think Jala's story jogged my memory. I saw a movie I hadn't seen before this week. I saw Eraserhead. Which, I know Kole's seen that. I know.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, weird movie.
It's long, but it's good.
Made in the 70s, which is crazy.
Made over the course of several years in the 70s. And Jack Nance
I read about that too, that like funding ran out and he had to like get funding elsewhere, and then it won the Palme d'Or or whatever in Cannes, and like half the people were booing and half the people were into it. So.
Yep. The same thing happened with Fire Walk with Me. Yeah. No, Jack Nance had to have that haircut for all of the production.
Oh jeez.
Oh man. Oh, that's cool. I recently, I have not seen it in a while, but I got for the birthday, I got a bunch of David Lynch Blu-rays. I treated myself to the Criterion edition of Eraserhead and Mulholland Drive, and
nice.
That I am due for a rewatch after I finish the Twin Peaks Return. Nice. Anything else? Just Eraserhead?
I don't want that. I mean, I don't want that to be the summary of my entire week, but
no, it's fine.
But yeah, we'll stick with that.
Cool. Well, I think we have some games to talk about, so we got to do the regular kind of show. What with the brief, the multiplayer, and the grind. And why don't we get started with the grind? The grind, where we talk about the games we have been playing over the past period of time or so. Right there. I just pressed the button and it dropped a marker that said chapter or segment break. I love it.
You should also press the misspeaking button because we don't have the brief and the grind.
Oh, you're right. Okay, well, I'll press it, but I'm not going to edit it. I'm not going to change it. Oh well, I fell back into old habits. People know. Jala, you've been away the longest, so I will throw it to you.
I got 2 games. One of them is short and sweet, and I'll save that for last. In the meantime, you get to hear me talk about my continuing struggles with Spike Chunsoft titles.
Yeah,
I will finish up AI, the Somnium files. So It feels like all the skeevy stuff that was only hinted at and every other route that I had worked on the last time we recorded, and every other route other than the one that I played right after we recorded, it was kind of just only hinted at. But this one route, it was right after we finished for that night. I went back in to my house and I played a little bit of the game, and it just started in on real heavy and hard on like all the skeevy gross stuff, the super sigma, sex pest stuff, real hard. And I was like, oh, okay. Also, most of the bug nut story beats were hyper concentrated in this same iris branch of the story. And also, there was a huge exposition dump, no less. So, like, all the stuff that I complained about.
You went in and you got a super concentrated dose.
I got a super dose. And so, after I played through that, I ended up taking a nice long break from it because I needed to take a nice long break from it. So, I didn't throw my Switch at something. But it was interesting because it was the only branch of any of the different paths that had an extended action scene, which was basically like a cinematic with occasional QTEs.
Oh.
And it was basically the absolute nadir of the game. I don't feel like there was very much that was particularly additive in, about that action scene. And it was like a weird outlier insofar as like the mechanics throughout the rest of the game because of how long it was. Like there were the small action bits in different segments of the game, but usually only just like a couple of QTEs, and it was only for a few minutes. But this was just like, it felt like half an hour, maybe more, of just cinematics with QTEs.
Oh my God.
So it was weird. And it kind of inconsistent. So unlike in the Zero Escape series, where I felt that it was consistently bug nuts and genre mixing, this one didn't jive as well, as you might imagine from what I just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
The feeling of the disparity kind of begins right at the start because it's beginning in the demo with like this gritty near future cyber noir vibe. And then like after you buy the game and they sucker you into buying it, then it has like weird pervy, goofy anime tropes, like the moment you pop into the Somnium for the first time. And it's like, okay, I don't know what I think about this game. Like there's things I like about it and there's things I don't like, kind of like with every other Spike Chunsoft title. So I felt pretty sandbagged though, because until that Iris path that I played last time, like right after we finished, the Sigma S commentary of the main character was contained only to occasional internal dialogue with Aiba, the AI eyeball partner, and didn't really pass on to Date's outward expression towards all the other characters. But it was constant in this one branch. Yeah. But again, thankfully after that, it kind of went back to not being so egregious. I don't know why it was just stuck right in the face, in this one thing. It kind of felt like the writing was inconsistent. Like some of the branches were really, really well written, and even though they had their hijinks, their typical Spike Chunsoft stuff, it didn't distract too much from what was going on. And overall, it would, when it blocked you off or ended that segment, that route, it hit you on a cliffhanger, an emotional point, something like that. And it was well done. But this one just was weird. It felt like somebody else wrote it almost.
But, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if different branches had like different primary writers, but usually that is smoothed over, and not as noticeable.
Yeah, and like I didn't notice that in the Zero Escape series. I didn't notice any of the branches being particularly one or another way because it felt more cohesive overall. But something that I did want to say that is kind of interesting to me is that there is a gay couple and there's a trans woman in this game, and none of them face homophobia or transphobia, despite like the overarching tendencies of Japanese society, which to my understanding from folks that I know that live there, they are, struggling to, catch up on that stuff.
And that's popped up in different games as well. Yeah.
Well, the cis lead character, though, and the Yakuza boss and thugs, however, are all straight up sex pests, and they're shown in a negative light, which is a refreshing change, even if I'd rather they just don't have that juvenile stuff about porn mags and wanting to see underage girls' underwear and motorboat in their cleavage. I don't need any of that in my game. So, but somehow the gay couple and the trans woman, they're fine. Like, they don't have any weird junk going on. They don't have anybody, giving them any grief about their, preferences, life choices, who they are as people, none of that. So that's nice because, oftentimes they're vilified in media that when it's from a place or a culture or society, a viewpoint, a timeline, whatever, where, like overarchingly it's not as accepted, So it was, but it's weird because they have kind of like a progressive stance on that stuff, but then they also have the gross, characters doing their thing. And it's kind of made me really question, who is this for? I don't understand who this is for.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
And it's weird for it to be so juvenile broadly, but then tiptoe. I mean, tiptoe implies something, unflattering, but to be very juvenile broadly, but then to handle something that could be outright offensive, right, or hurtful or derogatory, to handle that with kind of okay.
Yeah, with care and maturity.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because like overall it basically has like the misogyny's there, right? The misogyny is there with all of this disrespectful, sexual, gross, uncontrolled behavior from all of these cis males. Right. But then like there's respect and care taken towards LGBTQ and it's like, okay, it's good that part of it's good. They're not 100% there yet, but like
I'd rather you do well where you can than not, but also like you're kind of demonstrating that you know how to not do this.
When is this game from? Like when did it originally come out?
Like last year, wasn't it? It's recent.
It was like 2017,
to the earlier conversation on like, but what meter to judge things by?
Yeah, this is newer.
Is this? I mean, is it him trying to buy goodwill for his misogynistic bullshit? Like, if I put a penny in this jar, it's okay if I take a penny out of this jar.
Yeah, and like really kind of what Kole was saying, where it's like, you're demonstrating that you can, work this well. Because like Mama, the trans lady informant person who runs a bar, is probably my favorite character in the entire game. She's awesome. She's absolutely awesome, and I love her to death. Yeah. And, like they can portray her and it's fine, but like...
Do you think that just like this the standard skeeviness, misogyny, and any of that kind of stuff that just gets grandfathered in because it's tropey?
It might be that kind of a case. Because when we were saying the word juvenile, it made me think, well, yeah, this is probably geared for like a younger Japanese audience, and perhaps they are more open-minded about LGBT stuff, but like. Still struggling with the I don't know.
Yeah, the audience is woke but horny.
It's tough to generalize, and you don't want to accidentally say something unfair. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so like I think that's part of the struggle that I kind of continue to have, because Spike Chunsoft has lots of interesting concepts that they put into their games, and like the mechanics. I will say the mechanics of this game have been more streamlined overall than in the Zero Escape series. So like there's things that they do really well, but there's still just like this coat of crud that's on there that I still struggle with, because it's part of their brand, to have this in there is kind of how I feel about it, because it seems to be pervasive throughout.
Yeah. I mean, when you say this is Sigma-esque, you're referring to a character in Virtue's Last Reward, in a game that's 10 years old at this point, Yeah.
Well, other stuff that they've done have had not Sigma or Sigma vibes necessarily, but also similar sex pest stuff, or, fan service stuff, or whatever, like to ridiculous extents.
Yeah.
So anyway, but mechanically, this game has the same flowchart style as Zero Escape, but it's more streamlined because there are fewer branching paths overall. There is a breakdown scene by scene at each story node, so you can replay very specific segments of the game if you want to, without having to watch the entire node or the entire, branching path over again, which is a very good kind of concession to ease of use.
Mm-hmm. It's like fast travel, but in a time dimension.
Pretty much. So the Somnium parts, although sometimes they are tricky, particularly towards the end, they're not so frustrating as to make the game irritating to play. There's not any penalty to failure, and there's an easy restart of either the entire Somnium segment or even a portion, because there's checkpoints within that section of the game. And the QTEs that pop up in parts of the game are also really easy to redo without having to replay chunks of the game, because it checkpoints right before the cinematic leading to that QTE. And the QTE, I felt, always had enough time for you to process what you needed to do and do it. It was only ever like a 1 or 2 button combo. Either you push 2 buttons or a button in a direction on the D-pad, or you rapidly push one of the buttons. Mm-hmm. And you can also fast forward the cinematic until you get to the part where you have to push buttons too. Oh, you have the ability to fast forward everything in this game, and I love it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ease of use stuff that they really improved with this game over the last one from this company that I had, gone through. And some negative things, though. This game does not really reveal its plot points in an effective fashion in that particular long iris branch that I mentioned that was the worst written one, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. The other branches I felt were better written, or maybe better polished and considered. The ending also suffers from that exposition dump problem that I didn't like about Virtue's Last Reward.
Yeah.
Where they spell out every detail of what really happened during the ending after the plot crescendo is already over, when the game just keeps on going and slogging on. I was ready for it to be over with it like a good hour at least before it was actually over. And instead of capping the game on an exciting note, it dragged on, and then finally, after this wet fart of an epilogue, dumped the worst ending on me. And I say it's the worst ending. It made me really upset because it was super hand wavy about the deaths that happened during this murder mystery game that you played, and all the different tragedies that are involved. It ends with a fucking idle dance number, and everybody who's left alive joins in on it, and it switches for some reason. I was playing a game in Japanese and it switches to English for no apparent reason, and it was just like in VLR, stupidly long and slow to explain every last detail in this drag-ass, deflating, anticlimactic end sequence to get to an off-key dance number where even the main character, who's supposed to be super cool and collected, is dancing this doofy dance, and I'm just upset. I got so upset when I was playing it and I saw this ending that even though it's like winter and it was cold on that day, I ended up having to get up, turn on the fan, and change my clothes because I got so hot from my secondhand embarrassment and my anger mixed together.
Yeah.
I had a lot of things going on, and I just was like, okay, I have to go change. So I changed into some shorts and a t-shirt. So I'm sorry, it would not end happily. It just put me way off. And both of one of the characters' parents dies, and there's an amnesiac assassin, and all kinds of crap happens. And they're all dancing this happy little skippy number at the end. Oh, no. It was terrible. So anyway.
Does it end in such a way that it will go into a sequel, because the sequel's coming out this summer.
It is supposed to have a sequel, and it's not going to be starring Date, the character who was the main character in this game. It's going to be starring Mizuki, who is a girl who, for no explained reason whatsoever, has superpowers and can fly through the air and is super strong and can knock trees and stuff over. Because anime, I guess. I don't know.
Weird.
Yeah, they don't explain that. She just has superpowers for no reason. And anyway, so they really, really try to make you like her. And
it sounds like they make her a Mary Sue.
She seems like she's the creator's favorite. And she's definitely the star in the upcoming sequel, though. So, but there's lots of memorable characters in the game, although I can't really say that they are necessarily likable. It's kind of like with the Zeroscape games, where it's like, there's interesting and memorable characters. I don't know that I like them. Like, again, like Mama is the best character. Mizuki is okay. And that's about it.
Yeah.
But so there are, however, a lot of different elements that I can relate to real life situations I've been in, mostly as regards different interpersonal dynamics and how the characters' relationships are presented. One character's mother has dementia, and of course that reminded me of my grandmother, who had Alzheimer's until she passed. So like there's some really relevant kind of dynamics at play. So like that's a positive, like that's something you can.
Okay, so it's handled sensitively. Like it's not a okay.
No, actually that character, like that character has like her own ending that's kind of a sad one, but like at the actual quote unquote good end, like it she's being taken care of at the least. Yeah. So, but another downer, I guess the primary plot element about the main character right off the bat. And even though there were a lot more twists and turns to it, I saw the biggest bit of the premise very early on. So the big reveal wasn't as shocking or whatever. It's kind of like, oh yeah, I figured that was what was going on. So, I saw it coming.
Oh, good. We're saying that out loud now.
Yeah, basically. And so that also therefore made that very long explanation at the end of the game more trying to me, because, like I know, can we just go past all of this and like, where's the end of the game?
So you need the I get it button, which is like, yes, I know about Schrodinger's cat, for God's sake. Yeah.
yeah, basically. So, then the music and the voice acting and the art are all solid. Voice acting in particular in the Japanese, stellar voice would be Mizuki, hands down. So that's another reason why I'm like, oh yeah, she's definitely going to be the main character in the next one, and they're going to have the same voice actors come back for sure. But yeah, the Spike Chunsoft problem of non-additive sex pest stuff is in there, but it's still, even though that one particular path had a lot of it, it's not overall as prevalent as it was in Virtue's Last Reward. So that's a positive. Even though it's still there, it's not as blatant and grueling.
Yeah, that's a question
of
degrees.
The overall improvements to the flowchart helped made the play feel less frustrating. So, like, even when I got to a bad end, I didn't get upset at it like I did with Virtue's Last Reward. I went back and I listened to that again, those episodes, and I had encountered, 8 bad ends in a row. I hit all of these bad ends, and I just got so mad that I started banging my hand on the table when I was talking about it, because I was so upset. I'd only seen one actual ending, and a bunch of bad ends over and over and over and over again.
So you got 8 in a row that didn't give you the code fragment?
That didn't give me anything. And wow. I kept beating my head against the wall, and I kept on, it was bad. So anyway, you can't even have that problem in this game because they don't have as many branching paths. So no big deal. Anyway, my overall summary of AI, the Somnium files, the presentational elements and the improved gameplay and production, all of that is very solid. The main story beats are really interesting, and they're not as far out as the Zeroscape series, other than that one branch, which was Bug Nuts. Mm-hmm. That branch was like, that was the branch where the person who came up with all the Bug Nuts super out there stuff from Zeroscape just poured all of their energy into that one.
Kramered into the room. They tried to lock him out, but he got in there for that one. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you ever play this game, Kole, you will know when you get there, you're just going to start laughing. So, anyway, more or less, like Spike Chunsoft, I don't know that they make characters that are particularly likable most of the time. Mm-hmm. Like I don't think I haven't really liked very many characters from any of the games that I've played from them, which is weird.
Yeah. I can count the number of like Danganronpa characters that I've liked from beginning to end doesn't count because I like Byakuya, right? Like he's a good character, but he's a jerk for the first 2/3 of that game. But just like, the number of characters that I end up being like super positive on overall, in Danganronpa, counting on one hand. It also kind of doesn't, I'm not looking for characters to be super likable for me to be invested in the action. I think that's it's a psychographic thing,
most of them are going to be horribly murdered, and so you kind of want characters that you can hate a bit.
A little bit, yeah. Right. Slasher principle, yeah.
Well, okay, so something I don't think I've said specifically, the pacing in this game is kind of a mixed bag. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's a slug, but the ending is kind of, to me, anathema to the rest of the game because it just destroys any tone they were going for all the rest of the game. It just wrecks it. And as usual with this dev, I kind of landed somewhere in the middle on the do I like this scale, with the primary plot, the stylistic elements, and the presentation being things that drive me forward, and the same elements that are always problematic for me still being problematic. So it's their brand. It's what you're in for any of their games. So the thing is, to be fair, I did not realize this was Spike Chunsoft when I bought it.
Right.
I played the demo and I didn't look at I don't even know why I didn't don't they show that in the beginning? But anyway, I don't know. For some reason I didn't notice it and it didn't click and I didn't know this was when I bought it. Anyway, all that said, the sequel comes out this year, features McGee, has a brilliant voice actress as the main character. I'm pretty sure I will play it because I have this strange push-pull relationship with this dev. But at this point, I feel like I'll be waiting for it to go on some kind of a good sale before I pick it up. Like, I am not going to be pre-ordering it. I'm not going to be doing any of that kind of, I definitely have to do that thing.
Seems like a wait for $20 kind of thing.
Yeah, that kind of a thing. Because there's elements that I like. There's things that are interesting and engaging about the story. And the problem that I have when I talk about these games in general on this show is that I cannot go into what I like about it without going into super specific details about what's going on in the narrative, and the narrative is the driving force of the game.
Right.
And so that would spoil it for anybody who wants to play it. So unfortunately, all you get to hear is me bitching. Because I can't tell you the good stuff, like overall, except for the very vague, hey, the art's good, the whatever, There's some good plot stuff in there, but I can't talk about it,
Yeah. It's like, this one reveal was handled really well, or this character beat subverted an expectation, etc. Like those are things that necessarily that's why you're there,
And to talk about them in specific would just wreck it again unless you've already played it. So
right.
Anyway, ease of use is nice. It was somewhere between 15 and 20 hours, which is a nice shorter, I believe, kind of gameplay. Versus the Zeroscape. At least wasn't Virtue's Last Reward 40 or something like that?
My play clock on it on the 3DS was 32 hours or so.
Oh, really? Okay, not that much longer then. It felt a lot longer to me.
I mean, the difference between 15 to 20 and 30 plus is actually huge.
Yeah,
I would say so. Yeah. I think that your initial feeling was still right, and also I think everybody will have a different time on it too.
Yeah, for sure. I think basically 15 to 20 hours is about how much I can play of any old game that I'm having some conflicts on and still finish it.
Yeah.
But like after that point, once you get into, that 30 plus year, range, I have to take breaks from it, big breaks from it, or I'm going to have to, really love it to keep plugging away, I feel. So anyway, the other thing that I've got to talk about, unless anybody has any questions about AI, the Somnium files.
No.
Okay. So the other one I have to talk about is Old Man's Journey. It's an adventure game by Broken Rules, released in 2017 for mobile, Mac, PC, and later for Switch, PS4, and Xbox One. The game follows an old man who sets off traveling after receiving a letter, and it's basically wordless, so it's all conveyed with art. During his travels, you see some flashbacks of his life when he settles down to rest for a little bit from walking all day. And some element in the scenery triggers his memory, and you need to figure out what it is and tap on it. And you also, during the walking portion, when he's trying to get around, you click or tap on the screen to move the old man around, have to manipulate the landscape to allow him a clear path to his goal. And at first, this is very easy, but the complexity ramps up throughout the game, and it doesn't really get ever so difficult that it becomes frustrating. But it is enough to make you stop and kind of puzzle through it from time to time. And certain surfaces can be made taller or shorter within a specific range, like mountains and stuff. You can pick them up and move them a little bit. And you can also tap on animals to get them to move, like sheep that are grazing. You can get them to move from one patch of grass to another in order to clear the way. And in some areas, you also manipulate the landscape to make something like a wheel slam into a stone wall that blocks your path, or things like that. And you also have some segments on a vehicle, like a train or a truck. So
the way you're describing it has me picturing Lemmings, but with an old man, which is actually a startlingly grim concept.
Well,
you just described the Trump campaign.
Oh, God.
Oh, boy.
Which one? Sorry.
Is there a political button yet?
It's just a frowny face. Continue, Jala. I apologize.
We'll only need that after he wins re-election, and we have to watch what we say.
Oh, now that's a big frowny face. Dang.
Sad button now.
Yeah.
Continue.
Okay, so this game is simple, it's straightforward, it's relaxing to play, and it's charming. The art is really colorful and cute, and the music is low-key but catchy. It kind of has a vibe similar to like Burly Men at Sea. Remember when I played that one? That was such a cute game. Everybody play that game. Burly Men at Sea is very fun and cute.
Yeah. No,
but anyway, this game, Old Man's Journey, is also fun and cute.
Yeah, the visual style is great. It's a real kind of warm, almost like combination of like cutouts, but also a little bit painterly. There's like a texture kind of thing going on. This was a real, this was a really in demand like illustration style. Like back when I worked at that animation marketing studio, like people paid a lot of money for this. There was something that approached this. Yeah.
Well, this was just a nice, easy something or other to play when I wasn't playing Elder Scrolls Blades or, AI Somnium files. Like after I finished that one, I was like, I just want something nice and easy that I don't have to think too much about, that I can just kind of chill and play this thing. But I don't want to read reams and reams of text. Oh, it's wordless. Great.
Yeah.
So
nice.
Any questions about Old Man's Journey?
Does the wordlessness get in the way? Like if you found yourself at a loss for where to go or what to do for the lack of context? Okay.
Nope, not at all. There's basically you go from scene to scene, and like once you discover pretty early on that you can move into the background and the foreground. And so like pretty obvious. Whatever is furthest away is the point you're trying to get to when you start any particular scene. So, and when you tap on the screen or use, the controls and push down on it, it will highlight all of the surfaces that he can walk on, so you can figure out where they line up, and then it actually makes a point whenever you have lined up two of those surfaces, so that way he can walk across the two of them.
Oh, cool.
So, like, you can basically set up his path and then let him do his thing.
Yeah.
So, but in some instances, you have to move him multiple times and keep readjusting some, one or another area to make that path available to him. So, and again, like, there are some obstacles that you have to clear out of the way and things like that. So, and as the game goes, it kind of adds new ways to think about that manipulation of the space that you're in. So, like I said, it has like an increasing challenge level, but it's never so much that you're just stumped and staring at it like, I can't play this game. And, you don't get frustrated with it. You're just like, oh, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
So.
Nice. Nope, it looks cool. I had never heard of this before.
It's nice and cute and small. I'd say like hour and a half, maybe something like that.
Cool. Yeah, I don't have any other questions. Anybody else?
No, very cool.
Yeah. Dennis, how about you?
Yeah, so this is going to be kind of hard for me to talk about, but I've been cheating on XCOM.
Okay.
Okay.
The board game or the video game?
The video game. I downloaded and have started playing Phoenix Point.
Phoenix Point.
And this is Phoenix Point. It's a very XCOM style turn-based strategy game with a strong kind of micro tactical layer and macro base building layer to it. And so it was pretty directly inspired by XCOM. But there are a couple major differences. I'd heard it was good, and it was on Game Pass. So I was like, no one has to know, and I jumped in. All right, that's as far as I'm going to take that joke. It's a really cool game with some really good ideas that I wish XCOM would implement.
Okay.
Some of the differences are truly like, well, that is would change what XCOM is at its core, and other changes are just like, this is a quality of life thing that everyone should do.
Yeah.
So the bigger changes, the things that really make Phoenix Point unique. First off, it uses actual bullet physics when calculating a shot.
What?
And so instead of just a percentage chance that you will hit with your shot or not, it shows a reticle. And you can actually free aim the reticle to target different body parts should you want. But generally your accuracy is such that you can't get the thing completely centered on the target. And then your soldier proceeds to fire, and the shots kind of fall randomly inside the circle wherever you place it.
Okay.
And so you could literally have a sniper shot like go under someone's armpit and miss.
Oh, wow.
Or it's not just you're in low cover or high cover. It is literally like the shape of the thing you're behind is very important.
Yeah.
Because a tiny little barricade that's just a rail is not going to block anything, whereas something more solid, it makes a big difference. So in XCOM, if you're in low cover, it's negative 20%. If you're in high cover, it's negative 40%. In this one, it is so much more granular.
Yeah.
And it makes for some really interesting choices, because do I line this thing up to maximize the chance of headshots?
Yeah, right.
Or do I just put this, to get as much damage down on the target as possible?
Yeah.
So, that's the real big claim to fame for the game. That's kind of what it put its marketing behind, and it's a really interesting choice.
Mm-hmm.
and for the most part, I like it. It is amazing how often I click over into free aim mode, because there's just a default shoot button that just centers it as much as possible on the target.
Yeah.
But I'm very frequently switching into free aim mode to just kind of adjust. And that's leads into the second thing that is different about the game. Is that your turns are not split up into 2 action points, a move and either another move or fire your weapon. In an XCOM, if you fire your weapon, unless you have a special feat, that automatically ends your turn, whether you've used your next action or not.
Mm-hmm.
In Phoenix Point, you have a whole just stamina meter, and it's roughly divided into 4 parts, at least to start. But movement uses only the part of the stamina meter that's as many squares as you move, and so you can use, a tenth of your meter on movement, or half, or 52% of your meter on movement, just depending on where you go, and you can also split up moving and firing, and so that changes the way you play a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It allows hit and run tactics significantly better, where you can kind of pop out to a good position to shoot and then, sneak back into cover, or out of sight lines, which is really cool. It also removes some of the frustration of XCOM, where you think a point is going to be a good vantage point to fire from, but you're not sure. And you can kind of walk, like, how many squares do I need to move forward to have a viable shot? Is it 2 or 3? Well, in XCOM, you just have to pick, right?
Yeah,
And hope you're correct. In Phoenix Point, you can kind of move forward 2, check the aiming, be like, okay, I think I need to be a little closer. Move forward again. You could do it a square at a time if you wanted to, and you can parse that out between teammates. So your control is much more granular. And that's across everything, because like I said, with the aiming, you can target specific body parts, and if you hit a part enough, it will be damaged. So generally the head is just like, they die. If you critically injure someone's arm, though, and they're holding a 2-handed weapon, they can no longer use that weapon. And this happens to your soldiers as well. So suddenly it becomes very important for everyone to have a sidearm.
Yeah.
In case they only have one arm at their side. So, that makes for interesting choices. The gear is much more granular. Everyone has an inventory. You can pick up, you can open chests that are full of loot in the level, and you have to decide what you take and what you don't. Whereas in XCOM is like, well, you picked up the thing or you didn't. So yeah, it's,
this sounds like an awful lot to worry about. Like,
it is, and that is my jam.
Okay. Yeah.
I've said before that, like, most of XCOM is played staring at the screen with your hands folded in front of your mouth, as you're just thinking about what happens next.
Yeah.
And Phoenix Point is even more so. The thing that breaks it up, though, is because you have that extra granularity, you are doing more moment to moment.
Yeah, it's more input from you.
Yeah. And so, you're infinitely more micromanaging and doing the check down steps of, well, if this happens, then I'll do that. And if this happens, then I'll do that. What I love about XCOM is you have to do all of that you're in your head before you make a single move.
Right.
Like, you have to have this whole cascading set of choices held just in your mind to start moving. In Phoenix Point, that cascade is longer, but you're also able to kind of deploy it piecemeal.
You're getting more input, like at a higher rate of frequency. Yeah.
So yeah, it is. I'm still relatively early in the game. I've kind of just discovered each of the factions that you can interact with, and am doing missions for them. But I'm very intrigued. I am excited to kind of see it through. I don't know if it is as punishing as XCOM. I'm playing on just the regular difficulty, expecting it to be. And so far, I've had a pretty good time of it. Like, I've been pretty aggressive, left people out of cover, that sort of thing, and been okay.
Yeah.
We'll see how quickly that comes back to bite me in the ass.
Get in there, recruit. You can take him.
Yeah.
Did you say that this when you were introducing this? Did you say that this was designed by the designer of the original XCOM UFO Defense?
It is.
I did not say that. Is that
it is on the description of the game on the Steam page.
Yeah. So I was curious about that. So it was designed by Julian Gollop.
There you go.
That makes sense. Especially so, like all the things that I associate with XCOM, the differences that you called out are like things that they quantize more. Like, okay, we're going to round cover to this and this, and not have it be perfectly granular, right? That's all stuff
Correct.
that was done in the 2012 update or remake, etc., in order to make it more tabletop like. And going back to the original XCOM, it's the Wild fucking West in comparison.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. It makes sense that this would be made by somebody who was more attached to one version of the franchise and not the other.
So,
yeah, that actually does make a ton of sense.
Yeah.
I had a question about this. Like, narratively, is this the same thing as XCOM? Like aliens invading Earth, fighting them back, like global organization type thing? Or
it's right now it's like a Lovecrafty from the sea kind of thing.
Okay.
But there's no reason that can't be also aliens from space, and XCOM does have like I think it's From the Depths or something like that. That's like the giant alien base is underwater the whole time, right?
Gotcha.
So that it could very easily still be aliens, but the story is that there's been this global pandemic, which this came out beforehand, so new eyes for that.
Right.
People are like going crazy and walking into the sea, and then they come back out changed into these monsters, and that's what you're dealing with.
Oh, nice.
So as with XCOM, the story kind of takes a backseat. It's intriguing, but the driving thing you're there for is the strategy.
Yeah, the trade-offs. Nice.
So that's Phoenix Point.
I don't know that I have any other questions. I wanted to address the kind of the provenance there. Sounds interesting. I had literally never heard of this before. I think maybe I like scrolled over it on Games Pass when I was browsing, but the title is kind of Teflon-y.
Yeah, well, I want to... Oh, go ahead.
You say that, but this whole time I've been like, every time he says Phoenix, I think he's going to say Phoenix Wright.
Right.
And it's kind of like every single time that vampire game, whatever it's called, the new vampire something game, I keep on seeing it, and it keeps on making me say Vampire Savior, which is the Japanese name for Darkstalkers, the fighting game. And so, like, I keep seeing whatever that game is called, Vampire something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I keep on seeing Vampire Saviors. So in this case, I just keep on hearing Dennis talk about shooting people, but it's Phoenix Wright, and I'm like, but there was only a gun that one time.
Yeah, Phoenix Point does kind of sound like a name that was randomly generated within XCOM.
A little bit. name of an operation. Yeah.
Operation Phoenix Point.
Yep.
Yeah, there is one other wrinkle. There are vehicles in the game, and you can basically have a tank at your back. They let me play with one in the tutorial, and then I have not gotten back around to having one yet, so I can't say too much about it. But that idea of different sized units that are extremely powerful is very interesting to me, and it makes me think of Banner Saga, where the entire game was structured around kind of giant characters and normal characters. So we'll see how prominently they feature, or if they're just kind of set piece, rarely used items.
Yeah, if it's like particular missions that are on bigger maps. Yeah. Nice.
So I've been playing that. I have also been continuing to play Rainbow Six Extraction, and I am enjoying it a hell of a lot. This is the first game in a long time that I have felt scared is the wrong term, but that I have had managing my level of panic be a factor. Like it's so easy to lose your cool, start shooting, alert everyone in the vicinity, and then you're done for. You get swarmed. And the game does a great job constantly putting you in situations where you have to control that impulse.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I missed my first shot. Do I, calmly line up the second? Don't just start spraying. Or like, okay, he's this monster saw me and is about to alert everyone. Don't run, don't whatever. Just take care of it in a focused way. And doing playing with other people as well heightens that.
Since you don't want to disappoint them.
What's that?
You don't want to disappoint them. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's that, and then there's just like you'll hear bam bam from the other room and you're like, do I need to come in there? Are you good? No, I'm good, I got it. And then 5 seconds later it's like, well, I don't got it, hold on, I'm coming to you. It's like, don't bring them over here, I got them. Like and it's excellent. There's there's a mission mode where you have to tag a certain number of nests, their monster closets, without alerting anyone. And if the nest is activated at any point, then you can't tag it. You have to destroy it. And the stuff going south in that mission is just so intense because
it cascades.
You're trying and you're trying to like stop the dominoes, right? To jump in ahead of it and knock it backwards to get things back under control. And it's just really fun to be on comms with another player or another couple players, trying to get all that coordinated in these really tense, really panicky is the word that keeps on coming to mind. I didn't actually feel panicked, but it's that kind of fantasy.
Yeah, it's the stress of the situations they create for you has started impacting your decision making and your ability to execute on it.
Yeah, it's a fun panic, So it also confirms that I will never, ever, ever play this game with randoms. Like there's a big quick play option that's like the main button from the main menu, but in the times where I have not had a friend on to play with, I have just done solo missions. Wow. It is not worth jumping in with crazies. I think I did it twice. In the first one, I had to immediately mute the mics just for the hateful shit that started being spewed. The second I logged in, one of those. And then the second, no one talked, but everyone ran ahead and died real quick.
Right.
It's like, all right, excellent game, amazing game. Definitely play it with friends.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you were playing this with randoms or if you were playing it with people that you knew. Yeah.
Primarily in two stacks. Some people in my neighborhood play, and then David Moneysmith is playing as well. Just in case you don't know who that was. We established early in the show. There's a lot of Davids. I want it to be clear. Stop judging me.
What makes it funny is that my dad calls Dave David in my house. So that always makes me do a double take because I think of Money Smith when I hear David, and I think of Dave when I hear Dave. So anyway, but that's because my dad calls my mom Babe. And so every once in a while he would say Dave or he would say Babe, and then one or the other wrong one would come.
Of course.
So
yeah.
Oh, that's our classic Meet the Parents story, where one of the first times that Jen was over in our house, my family calls me Den, and literally no one else does. It's only my family. Everyone else calls me Dennis. And so Jen is over at my house, and my dad yells up from downstairs, "Hey, Den, take out the trash!" The trash.
So she thinks she's being put to work.
Yeah, I think I was in the bathroom or something, and she got up and did it.
Wow. You want to make a good first impression. You don't want to say, hey, if the trashing's taken out, I'll take it.
It clearly worked out for her. So, I feel your pain on the similar sounding name thing. That is rough. Final thought on Extraction is, every mission is broken up into 3 segments, and at the end of each segment, you have the choice to either extract through the airlock to the next area and continue, or extract through the helicopter and just leave and take your experience. And you lose an operator, you lose experience if you wind up dying. And that push your luck mechanic really plays into this panicky tenseness, there have absolutely been times where, especially like there's 4 like cities that the game is set in, and you unlock cities progressively. As when I'm in a new city, it is a legitimate fear to be like, I'm doing great right now. I am going to take my chips and cash out. Like this is, I don't, especially like they introduced a new mission type. I didn't know what it was. I just saw the icon for it. I'm like, I don't know what that is. I don't know where I am. I am out of my depths. This is, they'll, someone else will take care of it and bail. And that instinct is rewarded for every time that you push your luck a little too far and wind up going, well, crap, now I have to go back. And this time one of my missions is going to be fishing out an operator that I just got, I would say killed, but they're MIA. You can get them back.
How does that work with teams? Like if some of the people want to go on and some of the people want to leave?
Good luck. Whoever pushes the button first, it starts a countdown. And
I see. Okay.
Yeah, you better be in the right place when the countdown ends, because otherwise you immediately go MIA and you lose your character. So yeah, you can have one of your teammates nope out on you. Another reason not to play with randoms.
Yeah, more room for toxicity.
Yeah.
And either decide that they've had enough, or decide that they are YOLO all the way and really spoil your evening. So it's an interesting mechanic though, because there's also the factor of the extraction points are often in far different places within the level, and you might be hanging on for your dear life and barely complete the objective, and you're right next to the airlock, and the helicopter pad is across the map, and it's like, I'm not going to make it back across this map, so I'm going to go to the next mission just in the hopes that I can get to that helicopter pad instead. Like, I'm going to go there with the intent to bail, just because it's too hard to get to this safe extraction point.
I was sent to a different plane of existence because you said extract through the helicopter, and all I could picture was that mechanic dying in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, getting sucked through the propeller. So just the way you said that was like, huh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's why I was laughing at a weird time.
Yeah, the Indiana Jones blood extraction.
Although it was a plane propeller. I always think it's a I get that mixed up with the ending of one of the Siphon Filter games. Continue. I apologize.
Yeah, that's the thought. Is just there are lots of interesting choices to make that are driven by how much risk you're willing to tolerate. And the game does a great job. Like, I never feel overly punished, but the punishments are difficult enough, or the what's a better word than punishment? Like, I'm not playing this to be punished, but the risk is great enough that it always feels tense and meaningful. So I really appreciate a game that walks that. Yeah, the stakes are high. And now we're in back of the box jargon territory. So that is Rainbow Six Extraction.
Nice. I misspoke. Ben corrected me in the chat. I said Temple and it's Raiders. I did a hasty Google on that, and I read the wrong word. So if you've tweeted at me, shame on you. You never tweet until the end of the episode. You've revealed yourself to be a fool.
I just like to think that after since we're doing editing talk on this episode, that there's like a 15-minute retractions and corrections segment at the end of every episode where Cole has like meticulously fixed everything that he could be tweeted at for.
Oh God. I mean, you just described watch out for fireballs, but yeah.
I think it's like an incompleteness thing where it's like, if you try and fix everything you could be tweeted at, someone could tweet at you for that. So it's like there's no winning.
Yeah.
It's an endless fount. So.
It's fractal. It's like measuring the coastline, Oh man. So did you have anything else? Was it just Phoenix Point and Rainbow Six?
Yeah, I've been playing some other stuff, but no major updates. Those two have been a lot of fun this week, though.
Cool. Ben, how about you?
Got a bunch of small things that I want to run through. I guess I'll start out and follow up from some stuff that I talked about last week. I'm going to talk about board games first for the first couple ones. I continued playing The Sleeping Gods, the board game I talked about last week.
Yeah.
I completed the solo campaign that I had for it.
Nice.
It was pretty good. There's some like meta unlocks that you have when you play through the game, where it kind of you get a score for your run, and it'll track like certain artifacts that you pick up along the run, and based on that, new mechanics will come out for subsequent playthroughs. So that's kind of nice. Adds a little bit of replayability to the game. And
does
does
that gate like the difficulty ramp at all? Where like if you finish without many artifacts, you're not going to unlock stuff that will make it much more difficult. Whereas if you finish with a lot of stuff, it's like, oh well, clearly you're ready for us to throw everything in the kitchen sink again.
So far, it's been like, I guess it's been a little of each. So I've only added the mechanics that make the game like a little bit easier and more friendly, because they're all optional. All the mechanics, like you don't have to add them if you don't want to. But for example, like one is dynamite. You get this card that you can put it back in the box and it deals 5 damage to something, and you can use it once per your entire run of the game. It's like a nice friendly boost. But then there's like one mechanic that's added where it's like it changes what the port action is when you do a port action, where it adds like a couple of new features. It makes one thing a little bit harder, but then it makes like a new mechanic. So without saying too much of what that is. But yeah, so there's some kind of like interesting changes with that. And then I started a 2-player run through with one of my buddies who's in town, and we played it for maybe about 12 hours or so and got about halfway through the game. So we'll probably pick it up and finish it in another session in a week or two. But it was interesting playing it with another person. The main wrinkle is there's 9 people, including the captain. So in a 2-player game, you control 4 of the people instead of like a solo game where you control everyone. And so there's kind of more interaction there where you might do a move on their turn to help them out with something, and vice versa. It's mitigated by there's these things called command tokens, which is basically what you use to do like basically any action at instant speed. You get more of those with a higher player game. So it allow, and you spend them to do things like on your partner's turn. So it's kind of like self-balancing and everything. But yeah, it's interesting to see kind of, okay, this person's focused on this attribute of like strength or perception, so I should let them look at this one event that's probably going to require that. Like there's a little bit of planning with that, and that isn't in the solo game, so that's interesting to see. And I don't think I talked about it last time or not, but I found a way to kind of like break/stun lock the game on the solo playthrough last week. So I got to a point where I could kind of play it for as long as I wanted to and like perpetually play the game and stop like events from happening, which is the normal like way you progress through the game. So we don't have that mechanic in this game. So it's actually going along at the speed that it's intended to be played at. So that's good as well. Yeah, it's a fun game. I don't know if it'll top like Gloomhaven or not, but it's like it's similar that it's like a campaign game you play with friends, it's co-op, that sort of thing. Yeah. But it is fun, and it's a unique experience that I haven't played in other games before. So
nice.
Thumbs up.
Tabletop in a box.
The other thing I wanted to talk about. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just summed it up. Tabletop in a box.
Yeah. And if that's the direction that some board games head in, I'm totally fine with that, because I think that's a lot of fun. I think that's kind of like one of the things that's kind of lacking in D&D is like it's really nice to have like visuals, and I always thought the combat was a little bit lacking in D&D, but it depends on how you're doing it. It depends who you're with, so there's a lot of variability there. I guess I just prefer having a very mathy system for like how you're doing things, but that is definitely a personal preference. So, anyway, moving on from that, another board game related thing is there's a website I started playing on recently called Board Game Arena, which is basically it's the way it works is like one person just has to have a paid pass, and then you can play a bunch of different board games online with people. And they have like relatively current board games. The big one that I care about is they have Gaia Project on there, which is like my favorite board game. Yeah. But they also have things like Tapestry, Castles of Burgundy, some games in beta. But it seems like they try and get popular games, and I kind of looked into it, and it's like they have like a whole like dev kit and stuff like that. So they try and like get board game makers to like onboard their games to it. Anyway, the 2 games I played was Gaia Project and Tapestry, and they worked really well. I think it works best if everybody already knows the rules to the game, because then there's kind of no question about what's happening, or there's no like not as big of surprises or anything like that. It's very intuitive. And the thing that's very, 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 very nice about it over playing board games in person is like all the rules are enforced. There's no like, oh shit, I forgot to take this resource 2 turns ago. Can I do that now? And oh, that would have changed this. Like there's none of that. You never have to do that at all. So that's really nice. And then the other nice feature of it is they'll have stats on the game afterwards. And I think it's implemented game specifically, but like in Gaia Project, for example, it tells you like it tells you how long each player took, which is really interesting. Because I think usually if you play board games with people, there's always like one person that's like, yo, you're overthinking, just make a move, like that sort of thing. But like here you get the actual value of like, oh yeah, this dude took 2 hours and everyone else took like half an hour. So like,
oh man.
Yeah. Like one interesting result of that is the guy who got second place in Tapestry that we were playing with four people only took 30 minutes. Everyone else took over an hour, like hour and a half, hour and 30 minutes or 2 hours or something like that. So it's like, even though he finished second, it's like he definitely was the most efficient player and did like a great job from that perspective. And then the other thing that's interesting, it tells you where you get victory points for different mechanics, at least in Gaia projects. It's like you got this many victory points from doing towns and this many from doing like the bonus tiles. And so that's really interesting just to look at those stats and be like, oh, okay, so this is actually something I should focus on. And I should go for that with this class and stuff like that. Anyway, that was a very pleasant experience. As I said, with Gaia Project, everyone knew the rules, so that was really easy. It was just kind of like refreshing some people. With Tapestry, the other 3 people had never played it before, so I went over the rules with them. So that was interesting to see that perspective as well. And I think people got it by the end of the game. I'm not sure. I would like to see the same people play it in real life and see if there's anything that was kind of lost in translation or not.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was a pretty lovely experience. Even you don't have to pay. You can play like random games. It's just you have to have one person pay to play like with friends.
Yeah,
and like start the game.
It's like just to start the room. And this is official, so it's not like people doing kind of bootleg versions in Tabletop Simulator.
Correct.
That's
like they work with the developers of the game.
Yeah,
so.
that's cool. Yeah.
So pretty positive experience. But anyway. That's all the board game stuff. I'll move on. Storybook Brawl, they finished up their month. Every month they reset like the rankings and everything, but I was able to hit Mythic finally before they reset. And so it's getting to like 4,000 points. So I hadn't done that before. So I was pretty happy about that. I think you have the ability of entering a tournament like the subsequent month if you want to. I don't know if I'll do that or not, but that could be cool. That's all I have to say about it. Vampire Survivors, I also played a little bit of, so I was happy.
Oh, Vampire Savior?
Yeah. They had a small update. It was either a week or 2 ago, so I played to see what had changed. They added a little bit more rules to the first map that they have. Like before, it was kind of like a barren, infinite grid that goes off in any direction, kind of like an XY plane. But they started adding more like landmarks that are barriers in it. That you kind of have to like work around and stuff. So that was an interesting update. They added new characters, but you have to figure out how to unlock them, and I haven't looked it up / figured it out yet. And otherwise, it's pretty much the same game. So it's not like a huge, substantial update. I played a run, got killed by the boss again at the end at the 30-minute mark. So that was that.
Yeah.
All right, and then the last game that I have to talk about, which is a new game, is I started playing the game The Forest.
Oh, yeah.
I believe David talked about this at one point.
Yes, super dark first-person survival game. Emphasis on horror. You're in the woods and trying to escape.
It's in my backlog.
Yeah.
Okay. Has anyone else played it yet? Just so I know who
I've wanted to, but I've not.
Okay. I briefly played a TTRPG where the GM was inspired by The Forest.
Okay, cool. So I've only played for like 4 hours. I haven't played a tremendous amount of time, and I basically just did one run until I died, and then that stopped the run. But it was pretty good. My experience with it is, the premise is you start out, your plane crashes in a forest, your child gets stolen by some mutant-looking creature.
Wait. A forest or the forest?
I guess I don't want to spoil too much, so I guess you have to play the game to find out. You wake up, your child's gone. You like briefly saw him be stolen by a mutant dude, and you have a survival book that you luckily brought with you, which is doubles for like a manual and a start menu, and that's like really nice integration. But it basically tells you like, hey, here's how you can survive, like build a fire, build a shelter, do this, that sort of thing. And so basically in the run that I had, I just kind of started walking around. I found a nice beach. So I kind of set that up as like my base. There was a nice like boat that was off the shore. So maybe inspired by the road. I swam out there. That's a place. They had a bed in the boat. So you could just like sleep there. It was like a defunct boat though. But I was like, oh, this is perfect. Zombies aren't going to swim. So I'll do that. Because basically, this is kind of like Rust with zombies, is my impression of it for the first time that I played it. You're basically just focusing on base building. You mainly collect things like stones, logs, and twigs. You can build storages, and you can start to build shelters and stuff like that. The only thing that's different is randomly there will be a couple of times where a zombie might like yell at you and scream, and then you like have to go and like kill it, and then get some teeth from them, and then go on about your business.
Yeah.
So
You don't have to pull out their teeth. Dear God.
it just automatically goes in your inventory. You're not even pressing a button to do this.
What do you expect to make necklaces out of, Dennis?
What's more brutal is you can kill turtles in this game and then like carve them up for meat. Yeah, it's pretty brutal. I think the reason why it's in the game is you can flip those shells over and those become rain catchers if you need to get fresh water. So it's your typical kind of like crafty type survival game. So far it's not bad. I think kind of what I want to do is explore more with what you can build and setting up a base. I had built a boat in my run through, and I had built a house on shore in addition to like the boat that I had found in the middle of the sea. And I built some like small defenses, like a few traps, but they didn't really do anything. And then I was collecting logs one day and got swarmed by zombies. Woke up in their cave, like they give you like a chance to escape and get back. Ooh. But then I died in their cave, and then that was the end. So that's what I've experienced so far. You can build tree houses. I finally discovered how to make rope, which you can do like from the beginning, but I just didn't think about it, I guess. So I think the second run through I'm going to try and do that is make more like tree houses and try and make like a air city that I can like throw rocks down at zombies from above it with, something like that. Yeah, I don't know.
Nice.
Not too much more to say about it than that.
Yeah, I've been super tempted by it. It's just one of those things where the likeliest way that I would play it would be on a stream, and it is just a skosh too long.
Yeah, I'm not sure to what degree it would be a good streamable game or not. If you're doing like an all variety streamer, then I think it's good. If you're doing something like a concentrated like 2 or 3 hours, it might not be as good because the majority of the time it's going to be like cutting down trees and moving logs around, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
so
just a weird fit. Yeah. No, what did you say the penalty for death was in the game?
You wake up in a cave where they drag you to a cave. The zombies do.
Okay.
And then you're like hanging upside down like Luke Skywalker in Empire, but you can escape from that because they leave your axe like right next to you, which is very nice of them. But then you have to like try and get out of the cave and get back to where your base is. But then I died in the cave as well.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'll be curious to hear more.
Yeah.
Yes. Was that all you had?
That's all I got.
Cool. Mine will be real quick. I have mostly been trying to get ahead on homework stuff for Elden Ring times later on this month. So the only thing that I have to bring is I finished Tormented Souls on stream over the weekend. It's a good game. There are problems in the back part of it. It ends up getting a little bit sloppy with some of the specifically like the final area, which is a sewer that there is no map for. The final boss fight, which the enemy does just kind of too much damage to you, and it is a puzzle fight where it is a little tricky to figure out what to do. Other than that, the game does manage to ride a pretty good level of difficulty, stringency with resources, damage done versus your ability to kill versus kind of how many healing resources are available to you. Goes a little bit too far in the punishing direction toward the end, but like I think that overall, like of these retro throwback kind of third-person survival horror games that are trying to evoke the late 90s, early 2000s era of survival horror games, this is the one that has felt most successful to me in kind of capturing a lot of that feel and a lot of that level of like involvedness while also having really good puzzles. Just super good stuff. There were some of them, like I talked about last time, that ended up being just like maybe a skosh too obtuse. But those are outweighed by puzzles that rise above and beyond the usual. I have I have a thing that is this shape, and I need to find a slot in the world that has that shape for me to affix into it. This is you're kind of putting a little bit more. Taking more intuitive leaps, let's say, and that is super rewarding. Story-wise, it is ridiculous and wild. It goes like super good places. I don't want to spoil it any more than I did just by streaming it, but it's neat. And I would say that there is a monster design in this that is probably going to stick with me for a while. Specifically because of the story behind that monster that comes up. It was unexpected and very cool and very effective.
Nice. Yeah, it's interesting. The longer you go, the harder it is for something to do that for you, just because the catalog of things to compare it to is that much larger.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a little bit of it's a downside of being as focused as I am on this kind of game, I enjoy these games a lot, but a lot of it ends up being kind of intellectualized and putting it in context or whatever. So when something is able to get under my skin, a la say an Outlast 2 or a Lisa the Painful or the Cat Lady or Lorelei, it makes it all the more remarkable, let's say.
Very cool.
Yeah. So Tormented Souls, I would recommend it. It's neat. If you have any affection for that era of survival horror, I would say go for it. Any questions?
Nope.
Okie doke.
I don't think so.
Multiplayer. Now it is time for the multiplayer, where we ask you a question and then you answer it. Oh God, it doesn't show me right away who did it. It doesn't say, "Hey kids." So I'm going to assume Dennis. Is this you?
This one's my fault.
Okay.
So yeah, we basically stuff going on in the world. Everything's getting bought. All the exclusives are no longer exclusive. So yeah. I wanted to reminisce about the days of the console wars. The question is, did you ever take sides in the various console wars throughout gaming history? What console did you stan and why?
What I wish, I need people to say how old they were at the time they did this as well.
That would be nice, yeah.
Yeah, just I don't know. It seems like something that is I don't see it happen a lot now. So like somebody who came of age, I don't know. Anyway, Greg says,
yeah, 14 years old is when you have really strong opinions, and,
yes.
and you need the other thing to be bad.
I was say, how I read that is you can be a Nintendo fanboy at any point.
Yes. Greg says, as a kid, I was a pretty big Nintendo fanboy. I had all the NES systems up through the GameCube, and considered Nintendo and the companies that made games for them, such as Square, Capcom, and Konami, the best. But I never hated the Genesis, as I could swap my NES for the Genesis now and then, so I could see what that system had. By the time I was about 16, I was out of it. And now I just buy whatever console seems best in that generation. Yeah. That sounds like it's about the way that it would go. And I think we're going to see a few that are along those lines.
Yeah, I feel like Nintendo's skewing towards people in that age range where they have the kind of console war opinions is an unfair advantage.
Jala, what does David say?
David says, I was on Team Nintendo Xbox for a long time, kind of because I didn't like the PlayStation controllers, but mostly because neighborhood social rules demanded you make fun of what other people have while defending what you have. And I didn't have a PS2 when it was all the rage. I was just trying to survive out there.
I like that. I like how they make it sound like the console war was fought with live ammo. Oh man. Ben, what does another David say?
David says, I was never really on any side of the war, but I remember I had a friend in elementary school trying to convince me that the OG Xbox was garbage and that Halo was the worst. Later that year, I got one for Christmas with Halo 2 and Fable, and those two games are definitely some of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah,
taking sides by proxy.
I think a lot of I don't know. This could also be the case for the GameCube, but I think that like a lot of those exclusives on the Xbox and for the GameCube were saved by backward compatibility from later, more popular consoles. Let's say, yeah. Dennis, what does Callum say?
Callum says, I bought into it for Sega back in the Mega Drive area. I'm in New Zealand, which led me to get a Saturn instead of a PlayStation. Once I picked up a PlayStation later, it broke my childhood brand loyalty. I don't regret it, as it's why I played the Shining Force games and Guardian Heroes, which are still awesome games. Glad to have broken it now. Yeah, given that there's no new consoles from them.
Jala, somebody said Shining Force.
I know. I had a happy noise. I don't know if it got cut out or what. I went.
I heard it. It just wasn't very loud. I wanted to give you proper room for your remarks.
Well, Shining Force 3 on the Sega Saturn is probably my favorite Shining Force. So yes.
Yeah. I had a similar experience, Callum. A lot of us got burned by the Saturn. Oh, well.
I remember walking.
I don't regret it, though. There were some really good games on there.
Yeah. I'm happy I still have mine. That's,
Me too.
Ooh, when was the last time it was actually like powered on?
It's probably been about 5 years.
Not that long for me, but I've had to rearrange my office and make space, and I had to donate my TV that was out here to the house because the TV in the house broke. Yeah. So I do not have a TV in my office anymore, but when I did, I had the Sega Saturn hooked up, and I think I was playing Dragon Force last time. So anyway.
Nice.
Not that long ago, actually. It's in a box now, but that's just because it's very hard to get time in the living room when nobody else is in there to use it.
Yeah. So. And at that point, hooking something up is a real trial. So.
Oh yeah, going from just a composite into any modern TV is a nightmare. Yeah. Let's see, Dennis. I had you read Callum, right? So Eli will be me. Eli says, generally, I've hopped back and forth, PS1 to Xbox shortly, as it wouldn't play DVDs, to PS2, Xbox 360, PS3, and at the end, I've settled down with my PS4, and I'm looking forward to an upgrade to the PS5 when I'm able. No strong preference on hardware, but damn, when I look at all those exclusive, it's no choice at all. Bloodborne alone is worth sticking with Sony, along with a pretty long list of big budget games of various premises. On the other hand, you've got the occasional Halo, Gears of War, and Forza game. Not good enough. that was Eli saying that.
So tweet at him.
Yes. Yeah, that is Eli making that. And yeah, that's kind of how I feel. I mean, that's why I skipped the Xbox One generation, I just the PS4 had everything I wanted, and anything the Xbox One had was either on PC or would come shortly. And that's kind of also true for stuff in the PS4 generation that's now coming to PC slowly. It's weird.
It is, yeah.
It's strange
God
times.
of War, I keep on seeing headlines about how well it's doing, and God knows Sony's going to have to do something.
Yeah, God of War, Horizon, all that. Yeah. Let's see, Jala, what does Andrew say?
Andrew says, Team Nintendo all the way. Never had another console. In high school, I felt like Xbox and PlayStation mostly just had shooters and racing games, which I'd never been as interested in, whereas Nintendo seemed to be much more innovative with the types of games they made. But these days, Nintendo games are just always so expensive, so other than a few major franchises, I mostly buy indie games. Still, the Switch is the best place to play them. You can't beat the option to go handheld.
100%.
I can agree with that.
Love the Switch.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to argue with.
Yeah. Yeah. Ben, what does David say? Another fucking David. Wow.
David number 3. David says,
I'm cutting out those last names.
Are you? Are we doxing people if we do that? Right,
I don't know. It's just we generally don't. Yeah.
What about David C?
I think this is the 7th David. Okay.
David.
I told you just need to number them. That's the best way.
Yeah, we have so many David. So I thought about this briefly. If we do number them, we need to make it fair. I think David Moneysmith should be David 1 because 1 is within the name Moneysmith. But we can make Jala's David like David A or something like that to keep them equitable.
No. Yeah, and the next one will be David Star.
David Prime. David Prime might be thrown in there.
Yeah.
Anyway, this David, we're going to say David number 3 because his last name starts with the 3rd letter of the alphabet.
Okay.
David number 3 says, I don't stan, and I've never bought a console at launch. This is my console history. Atari, it was my dad's and we were poor. NES, SNES, PS1, PS2, Xbox 360, PS4.
Yeah.
I've bought other consoles at the ends of generations to catch games I've missed. I've had friends who were diehard Nintendo, Sega, and PC, but I don't understand that.
Yeah. No, seems like a good way to do it. Buy toward the end of a generation. You end up getting cheaper, more reliable hardware and a whole library of games that are ridiculously inexpensive. If you know where to look.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get a really nice hit list.
Yeah. It's a good way to do it. That's how I did
I like looking at this history where it's like Nintendo when you're young, PlayStation, dip your toes into Xbox, back to PlayStation.
Oh, man.
Back in your Sony box.
And Dennis, round us out here. What does Chris say?
Chris says, while I grew up with the NES, at one point I was a computer guy. While the rest of school was obsessed with JRPGs like Final Fantasy VII, I was trying to sing the praises of Fallout 2 and got made fun of because I didn't have the proper console and computers were for losers. Unfortunately, time made fools of them. What? They have children and families and houses now? Ah, fuck. Maybe JRPGs were the way.
No. So, I mean, there is, I think that there is respectability on the path that you walked, the PC stalwart. Yeah. I was a Sega kid. I was a Sega garbage kid when I was real young, which doesn't make any sense because like my family had, I mean, pretty much like we had the SNES and the Genesis. I grew up, like with a Nintendo in the house, like with an NES in the house, so like eventually I got all of them. So I have no idea why I was such a partisan for Sega up through the Saturn, and I mean honestly up through Dreamcast. When the Dreamcast came out, I was all about that. Like I fucking, man, some of the my favorite like Christmas memories were the 2 years when I got Dreamcast stuff, when I got the system, and then when I got like Shenmue, the next Christmas. Huge good memories for that. But like eventually I worked my way around everything. So I don't know. I can't explain why that was the case, other than I think maybe Sonic got his hooks into me real good, like from a branding standpoint more than anything. And
it seems like Sonic could beat up Mario.
Yes. Although now that is, I mean, with an adult's perspective, I understand that is foolishness. Yeah,
Mario is way overpowered in Super Smash Bros.
I
have no idea.
I can't speak to that. I have no idea. I'm not gonna say one way or the other because I don't want to be owned on Twitter. Yes. So And now I have most everything, and I spend most of my time playing PC and Switch. So explain that. Brand loyalty is weird. Just go and play the games you want to play where you can play them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Jala, how about you?
I don't care about what it is. My console history was like Atari 2600, NES. Then I had all the Sega consoles up through the Dreamcast. But then around that time, I started retro gaming all of the systems that I missed. So I had at one point, like every system, every major system, I won't say every single system, but every major system. And I had plenty of stuff to play. And then after that, that was that breakup I mentioned many times where that was a collection between myself and the boyfriend of the time. And when we broke up, he took most of the systems and games with him. So I didn't replace them. And I kind of got out of gaming for a bit. And then I only kind of wheedled back into it because my sister wanted to play stuff co-op on Steam. So then I started playing games on PC. And these days it's sometimes PC, but mostly because I'm working so much overtime, and I've been working overtime for like a year now, like a straight year. I'm burned out and I run screaming from my office. So I don't really play on Steam anymore. I usually just try to go lay in my bed and play with my Switch or sometimes mobile. But that's not like anything against a console. We do have a PS4 in the house. It's Dave's. I do have some games on there like Persona 5, but I can't play it because it has to be, again, in that living room. And that's usually taken up by, my parents who don't have jobs because they are disabled. So,
remote play,
right. But, anyway, so that's like where we're at. Most of the time I'm on my Switch though. And that's just because it's very convenient. And sometimes if we do get to use the TV, we just take the Switch and dock it and play Switch games. We usually don't even play the PlayStation 4. So,
yeah,
it's nice to give the Switch its big screen experience every now and again.
Well, for some games, you definitely feel like it's better having it on the larger screen. So it just kind of depends. And it's not that I don't want to play stuff on my PC, but also my PC is starting to get to the point where it's like old as hell, and it really needs to be replaced before I can continue doing much of anything. But like that's a big investment, so it's like I have to do it sometime soon, but not right this particular minute. And maybe after I get it upgraded and it's faster and everything, then I will be like, oh yeah, I'll totally sit in my office past the 10 hours I already work. I don't see that happening, but like it would be more possible anyway.
Yeah, I'm reaching that point in my PC's life cycle as well, and have been saved by cloud gaming. Like I'm very fortunate to live with fast internet. And I've gone from on the verge of, man, I need to sink about $2,000 into a PC to like, oh no, this $15 a month subscription is perfect.
That's great.
No, see, unfortunately, the internet at my house is crappy. The lines are old, and they don't have fiber out this way. I keep on checking every single time I get one of those little ads like AT&T Fiber wants to have you sign up, and then Filthy. I'm like, oh yeah, do you have fiber in my area? Do you? No.
Filthy liars.
Screw you.
Yeah, no, I get those too.
Stop messaging me. So,
Ben, how about you?
I think the only time I had like an allegiance to a console and defended it, I think was PS3, Xbox 360 era, if that's the right ones. But that was only because PS3 had free online multiplayer and Xbox did not, and I didn't know. That did not make sense to me. But I guess that was the miser in me is like, I don't know. And plus, you can play for free on PC. So I was just very against paying for online multiplayer. I thought that was a scam.
Yeah. I could see that.
And then sadly, PS4 happened.
Yes. The great equalizer.
That's literally what everyone does.
I had no mountain to stand on anymore.
Yeah. Huh. And Dennis, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this question was phrased from the like, in the past, did you ever partake? Because I think most of us are through that. And,
Yeah.
It's like play the games where you want, like you said.
Yeah, we're adults and we
I
have control over
definitely,
what's in our, what electronics we have. Yeah.
I definitely went through a phase where I was hardcore PlayStation fanboy. And I think it was kind of right in the PS3 era where that and the 360 were pretty evenly matched. And the peak of it, I remember, was when they were announcing the PS4 and the Xbox One. I guess that was.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Xboxes I can never keep straight, and it like I
they don't help you out either.
No,
Yeah.
And that it was just so much fun to make fun of the stupid naming conventions, and then the whole DRM thing. The Xbox tried to go to your disc will only work in your machine, and you can't resell your game or trade it and give it to a friend.
Yeah.
And then Sony did the here is our plan for that, and literally just made a video of someone handing someone else a PlayStation 4 case. And I died. I just that whole week was just cackling.
God, they really shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, they like Ben said, they didn't do themselves any favors on the name front or the anything related to their system front at that point. I'm glad that they're back. I'm having a lot of fun playing their games now, and have mellowed significantly, but drove a lot of joy from deriding Xbox back in the day.
Oh, dunking is fun. Yeah. Nice. Well, this was a fun
So is heroin, but it's not good for you.
Hey, true. So this was a fun little trip down memory lane. Thank you, Dennis, for posting the question, and thank you everybody who responded for responding. If you would like to participate, I almost said partake, and that'd be weird. If you'd like to participate in these, you can go to facebook.com/the level podcast and watch for the prompts to go up on Monday afternoons.
The end boss.
Now it is time for the end boss, where we talk about the things that are going on in the world of video games that are exciting to us. Jala, you posted the first story here. What's good old Solid Snake up to?
Well, David Hayter is going to be writing a TV drama adaptation for American McGee's Alice. So I know that there's I feel like there has been some commentary about the Alice games on network, generally speaking, in a kind of derogatory or dismissive-ish fashion.
Just calling them edgy, just kind of making fun of them.
They are definitely of a piece of a time.
Consummately 90s.
But anyway.
I did not follow... After David Hayter, I did not follow any of the words in that sentence. What is it?
A TV drama adaptation for the video game American McGee's Alice. Yes. The story is going to begin after Alice returns from the trip through the Looking Glass to find her house burned down and her parents were killed in the fire. She then attempts suicide, gets locked up in a mental institution, and is wasting away there when the White Rabbit summons her back to Wonderland. But It's not Wonderland the way that she saw it the first time. This is now a gory and terrible place that Alice has to work through in order to find the truth of the fire and the death of her parents.
Yeah.
So... meanwhile, McGee is developing the third game in the series, Alice Asylum, and is also working on Oz Adventures, a narrative game based on the L. Frank Baum classics.
Yeah.
Circling back to the TV drama that David Hayter is writing, the series will be executive produced by Radar Pictures Field, whose producer credits include the Jumanji franchise, the Riddick franchise, Amityville Horror, The Last Samurai, and the Chainsaw Massacre, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I just omitted my state name from that.
We just call it the Chainsaw Massacre here. Yeah.
We just call it the Chainsaw Massacre here. We're already in Texas. We don't need to specify.
So it's like when you say barbecue, since it's brisket, obviously. Yeah.
Our chainsaw massacres are bigger here than in other states.
Yeehaw! Yeah. I mean,
it was actually a very small massacre. It was the chainsaw that was huge.
Right.
I can't say I'm terribly excited about this. I think to speak tone wise, I don't like those games. Like mechanically, the one that I played was a way too difficult platformer. The thing that is it's fun to hear people realize that David Hayter, the voice of Solid Snake, wrote an X-Men two of the X-Men movies.
Yeah,
the two good ones.
Yeah, I was gonna say which two.
Yes, the first two. So good solid movies,
Yeah.
Yeah. So hey, maybe he'll do something cool with it. It is that 90s edge. I do not mean to be dismissive of things somebody likes. It's just
it's not that I'm like super pro defender of it or anything like that. I played the games. I liked the horror-ish feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's way too difficult of a platformer, at least in my opinion, as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of whatever. I don't know that I would necessarily be like all in for the third Alice at this point in my life, but like at the time that it came out, it was the thing.
Yeah.
So
made a splash.
It's just interesting that Solid Snake is writing this TV adaptation. I don't know that I necessarily want to watch it. It's just like a weird crossing over of things from the past.
Should I know who American McGee is? Like,
I don't know who American McGee is.
Other
than an auteur, I don't know. Edgy auteur.
American McGee was a developer at id. During I think it was like Doom 2 specifically. He did some level design, and like a lot of like a handful of people who came out of id when they went off to start their own things. You had John Romero, you had John Carmack, and you had and then you had American McGee. I think American McGee, he started putting his name on things that he made. American McGee's Alice, American McGee's Bad Day LA, Scrapland, any of these. Like, I mean, the last two that I said were not very good games, and it just kind of became just kind of a mark of derision. Like, why are you putting your name on these bad games, dude? It's just a strange thing. And yes, as like this article says here, his name is American. It's eye catching. Yeah.
Huh.
So, yeah. I've got one here. This is, I'm going to bring up NFTs, and normally when I bring up NFTs, I scream louder and at higher pitches until it's like a tea kettle going off, and then everything turns red and I wake up in a jail cell. But this actually is good. This changed over the course of today. So the publisher Team 17, which has published a lot of stuff of interest to the network. Team 17 worked with the Games Kitchen to publish Blasphemous, the really good Metroidvania game that we covered on Bonfire Side Chat. It's cool. It's good. But they've published lots of things like the Ukulele games and the Worms games. The Worms artillery-based multiplayer combat kind of deals. This story concerns that last one because Team 17 put out an announcement saying that they were developing a new Worms game called Meta Worms. Like the metaverse, that hip and trendy thing. Yeah. And this is going to roll out along with a line of Worms NFTs. So people could buy non-fungible tokens associated with a particular hideous proc gen version of a worm from the game. And this is one of many stories recently where a big company has made an announcement, and then a prompt backlash has caused a response. In Ubisoft's case, it's to say angry gamers just don't understand NFTs, which fuck you. Or in this case, so one of the developers who publishes, or who makes a game, AgroCrab is the developer. They made a game called Going Under. They said, yeah, we didn't know this was happening. We, in no uncertain terms, do not want to be associated with this. And so they posted, a tweet, with an announcement. The text of the tweet was just sigh. There was an image that opens with, "We believe NFTs cannot be environmentally friendly or useful and really are just an overall fucking grift." They severed ties with Team 17. That was earlier today that they made this announcement. And then additionally, or no, that was yesterday as the time we're recording. Additionally, earlier today, the team Platonic, the developers of the ukulele games, said, yeah, we want nothing to do with this. We do not endorse the use of NFTs. So like their developers just said no, and to varying degrees rebuked their own publisher. And as of like this evening, Team 17 has said, yeah, we listen to folks, and we are deciding not to do this. We're not partnering with these fucking grifters to sell you a blockchain entry that is a link to a goddamn JPEG. So
yeah,
win.
Good. Also, it just sucks that you can never not be the company that thought this was a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Like, congratulations, you took it back. That's excellent. Best case scenario, given the fact that you did this incredibly dumb fucking thing.
Yeah.
But you just some toothpaste cannot be put back into the tube.
Yeah. Just like, oh, you showed yourself to be, susceptible to this Harold Hill figure who goes around saying, yes, say these magical words and investors will give you money.
I mean, the bad thing is it works now, right? Like,
yeah. I hate it so goddamn much, but it's nice to see the backlash working. And specifically for the developers saying like, hey, make your displeasure heard, but do not harass anybody who actually like works for these companies. They likely were caught off guard and do not approve of this any more than we do. So, that is good. I think that overall the backlash against this has been productive. And is one of the few things happening like broadly current events wise that is heartening. So, I
mean, has there been any data on a publisher actually making money on NFTs? I think the Ubisoft ones like really tanked, didn't they?
I've not seen any performance data on that. I didn't even know that they actually put them out.
It was for Ghost Recon. Had them, and they were just like laughably bad.
Well, nobody likes that game. They haven't made a good Ghost Recon for decades. Yeah. So I apologize for just kind of going off on an extended one there, but
dunking is fun.
Oh man, Ben, what's going on with the popular word guess game?
Yeah, we talked about this I think a bit last week at the end of the episode. Basically, we can talk about any of the acquisitions in brief, but so Microsoft bought Activision, which is like everything.
Activision, Blizzard, yeah.
Sony bought Bungie, which
is the one thing left.
Sony bought Bungie, which was under Activision, which was a part of Microsoft, but now isn't.
Yeah.
And then Wordle, the popular game that we were talking about from last week, got bought up by the New York Times. Weird plays all around.
I mean,
I don't know. Yeah.
Good for the Wordle dev, like 6-7 figure poll, dude. I have no idea what the fuck New York Times was thinking.
It's just like, why? Well, I mean, this one's I think the one that maybe could be the most optimistic of it, where it's like they're paying money to a single dev who's the person who made it.
True.
They might just want a new game for whatever, but it's probably more likely like, oh, this is really hot. We could get a lot of advertising money off of this. Let's add this to our collection.
They're going to keep it free.
We're the puzzle guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how much money they stand. I don't know why the game's popular. Again, like Mastermind's sweet. Like it's always been sweet, but like I guess I just don't understand the social element of it, where it's like I don't know.
Yeah. No.
Anyway,
I got today's puzzle in one guess, and I thought, yeah, it's a good one to go out on. I mean, there was no skill involved. I just picked the right word for it, and it was like, oh, that's fun. And then out I went. So, yeah. Let's see here and round us out, Dennis. What? It's another show. Wow.
Yeah, this is a little bit older news, but I wanted to talk about it. Cuphead is apparently getting a TV series. So of course it's on Netflix because they're just they're throwing everything and seeing what sticks. I really I still haven't gotten around to playing Cuphead. I know literally nothing about the lore or how well it's going to perform as a TV show. What stood out to me is the trailer for the series is indistinguishable from the trailer for the game. And it is just a complete validation of how strong the art direction of this game is. I cannot think of another game that is just so singular in capturing a style. And it helps that it's, aping a certain style of animation to begin with. It just did that so well that going into the TV format has changed nothing.
Yeah.
So I don't know anything about the show. I don't know anything about the game, really. I just know it looks really freaking good, and continues to do so in television format now.
Yeah, no, I mean, that has been one of those strange successes because that game knocked around in development hell for years and years and years. And to still see Cuphead merch out there, and stuff like this show leveraging like the one unassailable strength of it has been, kind of neat. Yeah. I mean, savvy play on the part of the devs of the game. That more likely Netflix is just throwing money at any dev that'll listen. Yeah, sounds about right.
I don't know, like, tone wise, I don't know how sarcastic or it's funny because these characters look wholesome and do vile things. I burnt out on that kind of entertainment a long time ago. So if it's that, not for me, not interested.
At least the game itself, there's a little bit of menace to a lot of what's going on, but there's not it's not like, hey, this seems wholesome, but they're doing crass family unfriendly things. It's not been that edgy, I guess. Edge is
no, I like menace in it. It's yes, this does look a bit creepy.
Yeah.
So yeah, if the show can successfully translate that, good on them. But yeah, just another chance to gush about the art style of a game that is wholly set apart from just anything else I've seen.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that sounds like a segment, and that sounds like an episode. How do you all feel about buttoning it up?
I mean, we are literally going to push a show in button. So.
Buttons.
The credit.
Thank you so much for listening to level number 402. I'm going to let you know. So big network stuff coming up. Elden Ring is coming out at the end of this month. Bonfireside Chat is going to start its coverage early in March. So if you have been looking to back on Patreon, this is a good time to do it to get that content. That might also come with maybe a missed week here on the show as I go into the Elden Ring mines to get it beat so we can start breaking it apart. But that is the only programming note that I have. Otherwise, you can do all the usual things. You can leave a rating or review. You can tell your friends. You can like us on Facebook. All of that good stuff. Is there anything I'm forgetting?
When are we going to release the Duckfeed NFTs?
Oh, never.
No,
I'm not going to do it. I feel comfortable saying no.
This is now the episode is going to end with Kole screaming, what was it, more shrilly and louder until something pops.
Yeah, just increasing volume, increasing pitch. Yeah.
Yes.
So, I have been Kole Ross. You can find me on Twitter, complaining a lot about NFTs and crypto these days, but at Kole Ross.
Yeah. I've been Dennis Furia. You can find me dunking on NFTs.
I'm Jala in places.
And I'm Ben Merkel.
I'm also tweeting about Cutthroat Kitchen a lot, but that's just I'm real into that show now. Anyway,
Twitter.
And stick around for some titles. Okay, who has titles?
I have a couple of titles.
Okay.
Oh, a few. Woke but horny.
Oh no!
YOLO all the way.
Okay.
And David Prime, although we've had lots of David titles. David is Legion, etc. So we shouldn't do that one. But
okay. I have Time is Sometimes Meaningless, a Fun Panic, and Extract Through the Helicopter. Let's see, Dennis, what you got?
Yeah, I've got 3. I've got Unqualified Schmo. And Number Your Davids. And then finally, Dunking is Fun.
Mm-hmm. Ben?
I just wrote too many Davids halfway through recording.
The one that got last was Woke but Horny.
Yeah,
yep.
I like that.
Do that one.
Yes.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to go.
Go slightly earlier than
I know, yeah.
I like this.
I will sleep. I got games to play.
Yes.
Or sleep to have or something.
Either or. It is a duet of pleasures. All right.
Yay.
Thank you for coming on, Jala. Thank you, everybody. Have a good week.
See
Bye.
ya.
Happy early birthday,
Good night
Dennis.
and happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Take care.
Yeah.